Telling our stories is the connective tissue of the collective human experience. The Just Keep Talking podcast delves into the lives and stories of artists. What is the impact of mental health on creativity? What does it mean to be a creative individual? Someone who feels deeply, experiences joy and pain intensely, and navigates the challenges of life through the creative process. With each story shared, we explore the authentic experience of our basic need to be seen, to be heard, and to belong. We're really not so different from one another, nor are we alone. Together, we can inspire, encourage, and enlighten each other to find the true joy and fulfillment that is within ourselves. When we just keep talking, we create the space for gratitude, self-acceptance, and grace in everyday life. In a world filled with divisiveness, fostering inclusivity and connection is a powerful way to make a positive impact. The Just Keep Talking podcast with me, Brother Love, because your story matters.
He loved his neighbors as he loved himself. Gave you the shirt off his back if you needed some help. Didn't worry about getting paid back somewhere down the line. I know what he'd say if he were here today. We were free then, all on the same damn side. Prayed on Sunday, drank on Friday night. We were heroes, but we kept our pride inside. We'd fight like family, but always would make things right. And Grandpa didn't bleed for this world gone crazy, un-American dream.
Hello, and welcome to the Just Keep Talking podcast with me, Brother Love. Your story matters. My guest this week is Matthew Szlachetka, producer, guitar player, music director, singer-songwriter right here in Nashville. Hello, sir.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm great.
Let me tell you a little something about you in case you didn't know. Rolling Stone hailed Szlachetka as one of the 10 new artists you need to know, describing his music as a, quote, soundtrack for both the highway and the heartland, a collection of road dog, roots rockers, and Americana ballads inspired by the people and places he's left behind in the rearview mirror. I'm speaking of your last record, Young Heart, Old Soul, produced by Grammy-winning producer Scott Underwood from Train. The album was recorded at Blackbird Studio A and Thunderwood Studios in Nashville, and it was 2019 or 2020 you put that album out, correct?
It was recorded, basically, we went in tail end of June 2019 through the first week or two of July 2019 because we thought we were ahead of the game. We were going to have a triumphant 2020. It was supposed to be released in 2020.
A lot of things were supposed to happen in
Yeah.
2020. Well, my point is that you're a singer, you're a songwriter, you're an artist, and you have been really somebody who's a part of this Nashville scene and circuit. You produce and curate one of the coolest nights here in town called the Greasy Chicken Review, which is a show that happens at the East Side Bowl the second Tuesday of every month. It's a rotating cast of top session and touring musicians that play nothing but deep cuts and B-sides from everyone's favorite rock and roll, soul, and Americana bands and artists. You've done a lot. You do a lot. There's my little Google commercial. How are you, sir?
I'm great. It's always good to be with you.
You're one of those cats that are here in Nashville that everybody knows and everybody has worked with, because I've heard your name a million times over the years, and we just recently have met and just recently have started playing music together.
The funny thing is, like, about that sentiment you just brought up, I feel the same way about, you and Alex and everybody else in Them Vibes, because I started hearing about all you beautiful souls. It's probably within the first 2 to 3 years, I think, of living in Nashville, and it was just like, I love that vibe, and anytime I'd see you guys play, it was just like, yeah, this is totally what I'm into. And then, you just fast forward to when we actually did meet, which I think was through Bobby officially, I think.
Bobby Holland, producer extraordinaire. He's done all of Them Vibes records, and he's worked with you guys. He's worked with everybody.
It's just, I feel like it was kismet. It was like, I feel like we had already known each other. We just fell into each other like putting on a glove, and it's funny because I feel like I met Alex, I think, last. Yes. And just the same thing with Alex. Like when we both met, it was just like, I was like, yeah, We're the same people.
Yeah. And that's so true. You're so kind and you're so warm and you're welcoming. And you invited me to be on the Greasy Chicken review. Actually,
Boston Rag was the first song I think you sang with us.
Actually, no, it was Sway.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
Jeremy Asbrock, guitar player extraordinaire, plays with Ace Frehley. He plays with everybody.
Yeah.
He said, hey, man, can you come and sing Sway tonight by the Rolling Stones? And I said, yeah, we have done that because he's part of the rock and roll residency, which is, a staple here in Nashville for all the many, many, many years that everybody would come out weekly and see some of the greatest rock and roll ever. I mean, my wife, Sarah Tomek, played one night the rock and roll residency and was asked to do Aerosmith, Lord of the Thighs. And she said, hell yeah, I know that song. And that's a deep cut that people don't necessarily know. And in the audience that night at Dan McGuinness, the old spot, was Marty Fredrickson, producer.
Yep.
Saw Sarah play the Aerosmith song, Lord of the Thighs, said, hey, my name's Marty Fredrickson. Can I get your phone number? And she's like, I know exactly who this is. He wrote Jaded.
Yep.
He worked with Aerosmith. He worked and got Steven Tyler to Nashville, put his band together, and then my wife, Sarah Tomek, the famous Sarah Tomek, became Steven Tyler's
Loving Mary, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Became Steven Tyler's drummer. We have such an amazing community here. So yes, I was invited to play the Greasy Chicken review with Jeremy Asbrock was playing guitar that night, and I sang Sway, which is something that we've done before. You're a staple here in Nashville. What made you come to Nashville, besides the obvious?
My 14 or 15-year-old self had the crazy dream that I didn't care what I had to do. I wanted to do music full time. I wanted to be a guitar player. I was 100% touring artists, solo artists. When I moved to LA, I immediately got into a band called the North Star Session, chasing around the industry kind of thing, like putting out records, trying to shop them. We figured out as much as we could, just became like 100% DIY sustainable band that ran its course like bands usually do. And I went solo, recorded my first solo record in 2012 and then released it in 2013.
Congratulations. Big deal.
Thank you. On the DIY standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. That's tough stuff to do, man.
Yeah.
It's tough to do that all on your own, but you waded the waters. You came to Nashville and you know everybody. Everybody knows you. And you tour, you produce, you write, you do all the things. And part of it is that you have a great reputation. And that's a big deal in this small town.
Yeah.
Do you know you have a good reputation?
I just try to adhere to the golden rule, man, all the time, and just be cool. Be cool and be kind. The Paul McCartney rule, man. The more you give, the more you get.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you did put out a record in 2020. We alluded to it earlier.
Yes.
Young Heart, Old Soul. What a great record of yours. And I got to know you a lot by listening to a bunch of the songs that were on this record. Everything you do seems to be with a lot of heart and soul. Every song on this record of yours, I was transported into a world that I'm so happy to have been a part of. It's nostalgic. I feel like you were longing to find who you are, who you were, where you come from. Where do I belong? Does this resonate with you at all?
Absolutely.
There's a song on there called Old Soul. The lyrics, part of the lyrics are drift away. At the end of the day, you're sure to disappear, but you're not sure where to go. Young heart, old soul. There's a place for you here. There's a place for you here. Old soul, there's a place for you here. Where is here?
Home. It's like home, and as cliche as it's going to sound, home is where you make it. You know,
absolutely.
And for me, that moment came when shortly after I moved to Nashville. Moving here, I did have a really great network from coming here 2 or 3 years prior pretty frequently. And so I didn't move here just like cold. And some people that were very influential in getting me to move here were like obviously Scott Underwood. He had moved here when he had left the band. And so we just started writing together and doing session work together. Kind of talked about maybe doing what became my second record, but I ended up working with the late, great David Bianco on that before he passed. Everything works out, I think, time-wise.
Tell us who David Bianco is.
So David has worked on like all of our favorite albums and with our favorite bands and artists. I mean, pretty much one of the main engineers on Wildflowers.
Right.
He actually is the guy that brought Jim Scott into the mix.
Right.
At Wildflowers, because Jim Scott was usually like his assistant on a lot of things that he did, but producer.
Yeah.
You know, and he was really like one of the last kind of like true record men.
Mm-hmm.
He moved out after he graduated Rutgers, and he was a janitor at the record plant and worked his way up to being an engineer. Like just
so cool.
The American dream, right? Of, you know, following your dreams of being in the music industry. And so I ended up doing that with him, started working with Scott, another really dear friend of mine named Jamie Kent. He's been a soul brother of mine for a long time. co-writer. We used to tour together all the time. He moved here first. He's from Western Massachusetts as well. And he actually had a song that Loving Mary cut called Broke Not Broken.
Oh, yeah.
That they cut that song.
Yes.
Jamie wrote that.
Oh, that's so cool.
But yeah, so he moved here first and was very influential, who were like, hey man, you should really think about moving to Nashville. I moved here with dear friends. And, you know, I feel so fortunate for people that I've worked with in the industry.
So you put this record together.
Yeah.
You put this record out. So what was what was it like for you? What was your life like? Because these songs are very introspective.
Yeah.
These songs remind me it reminds me to remind myself to reach into my past, to reach into my own story. I feel like the photographs that are on each of those singles those are personal photographs from when you were growing up.
Yeah.
It's like you were searching for like a meaning for life a little bit. No, it was very introspective. The fact that you made a full-length record with a through line like that is filled with nostalgia, filled with searching, filled with a longing. You had a ton of material. Were you at a point in your life that you were just sort of slowed down a little bit because you had moved here, you were working, you were doing the whole thing, and then it was time for you, I guess, as an artist to put out a record? So what was your mind frame?
I think community is really important to me. Family is very important to me. Sense of place is very important to me. And like, so thankful for my time in LA. Not to say that I didn't have community there. I did, but LA is just so big.
Yes.
It's harder to get together. So I remember specifically coming back from tours sometimes and like, because a lot of the tours I did were solo acoustic tours because that's what the budget permitted. I remember feeling weird and like had to like readjust how to like be back in a social situation sometimes. Like if I was out back in LA, like seeing friends play or whatever, you know, feeling like awkward in my skin a little bit, and then moving here to where I feel like the emphasis on community is so much more important here. Someone told me once, Nashville will tell you when it wants you to move here.
Yeah.
Being part of the community, you know what I mean? And I feel like that's exactly what happened with me moving here. And so specifically, I remember being at the Legion,
The American Legion,
on a Honky Tonk Tuesday night, shortly after I moved. It was like going into the most beautiful time warp ever. It literally hasn't changed since like the early 50s. Like it's same decor, same everything.
The American Legion on Gallatin, right near where I live in East Nashville, and they are hosting Honky Tonk Tuesdays for years and years.
But the thing that had changed, which I was very much resonating with, was this audience of people of all different shades, ethnicities, religions, shapes, sizes, older people, young people, all there for an amazing night of music.
Yeah.
And the phrase, there's a place for you here, just came into my head. And then about maybe a week later, I took it to my good buddy Mondo Signs, who I've written
I know Mondo
with.
Yeah.
And we wrote the song, we banged it out in like an hour maybe.
Yeah.
And it's one of those moments where I just felt like that song was a gift, you know? And I'm so happy that I wrote it with Mondo. But it is that, you know, it's like, where are you from? Where are you going? Where are you now? All those things that have made you are so important. And I think that as we change, like we can never forget that. Even if there are things that maybe you didn't like about where you came from or didn't like who you used to be, whatever, it's like that's all going to be part of you. And how do we shift and navigate through that?
Naturally, we try to fit in life. And what I find is, and what I sort of read a lot about is, and Brene Brown talks about this, and she's my hero author, the difference between fitting in, which is me changing and being how you want me to be or how I think you will like me, that as opposed to belonging. Very much a sense of I am here, I'm in my own skin, and I feel good. And I'm not doing it for anybody else but for me, and that's just good enough and perfect. And I get a sense from you that you very much belong in your own skin, and you're not a chaser like a lot of artists that were in this business. And we work with a lot of people that are like, oh, what's the next thing? My next song is like this. Oh my God, it's cool to be gay. I'm gay now. You know, I mean, let's be serious, right? I mean, I got plenty of friends that I could name right now that are now gay because it's cool to be gay. Okay, please. But hey, whatever floats your boat, I could care less. But what I do care about is that we all feel comfortable in our own, and that we feel comfortable around our friends and family. And Nashville is this beautiful community. The community that we're in is so special. Every now and again, my wife and I say, why do we live here? Maybe we'll go back up to the Northeast or go to Europe or who the hell knows what. We always do that, right? I don't like where I am type of mentality. And I always go back to the same thing. I'm like, where else could you walk into a coffee shop, a pizza place, a Kroger, a shoe store. It doesn't matter. You will run into somebody that is part of your community, somebody that makes you feel at home right away. Doesn't matter where we go. And that is a very special thing that we have here in Nashville.
Absolutely.
You seem very confident and comfortable in your own skin. And I wish I knew you when you were working on this last record, because were you alone a lot of the time? I know you mentioned that there was something about being alone and touring a lot, but these songs, like, did you learn a lot about yourself making that record?
Absolutely. And it was definitely a time frame for me that was a major shift. I moved here, like I said, in March 17. We recorded it in June of 2019. So like from that time frame, like year and a half, I was just writing, and things that I had to let go of in LA to get me here, and everything from like relationships, goals, things that shifted from priorities to new priorities. It's all in those songs, especially that time too, like hitting the ground running. I still was touring nonstop, being observant to changing of climates in the country, whether it's politically, just climate shift in general, different states, different cities, all of it, the heartbeat of this country, the heartbeat of people, the heartbeat from myself.
Yeah.
I think everybody's always on some kind of a journey, whether they believe it or not. And just really paying attention to where you have come from, where are you going, where are you now?
Yeah.
And that's always been really important to me. Right around that time, too, was when I met my wife.
Sarah Eiley.
Yep.
She's amazing. Singer, songwriter, artist. She's incredible. And you two are
I wouldn't be where I'm at without her.
And so you're a power couple, by the way.
I very much am appreciative of that. So there's a lot of her in this album. And honestly, through the time frame right before we started recording this, her and I actually broke up for like a couple months, and it was the best thing that could have happened for both of us, because it brought us back together, and we both worked on a bunch of stuff, and we realized that we could not be apart. And after we got back together, it was pretty much when we went into the studio to record this album.
Is she singing background vocals on that?
Yeah.
I hear a woman's voice, and it's so beautiful. And I'm like, that sounds like Sarah Eiley.
Yeah, she sings definitely all the female vocals. And then Mondo is singing harmonies on Old Soul.
Right.
And then we had Jamie Kent came in to sing some harmonies. My other buddy, Brandon James, who I wrote that song, Bullet Through the Wind. Tim Jones sang harmonies on that song,
Love that guy.
I wrote that. So Tim was also like another important voice of influence getting me to move to Nashville. I met Tim literally within the first month of moving to Los Angeles. We met through the Hotel Cafe scene. My old band, he booked us our first show at Hotel Cafe, and like after being friends for 13 years, we finally started writing together, and that was the first song we wrote.
That's great. And this record, Young Heart, Old Soul, Rolling Stone loved it. I mean, the songs are fantastic. There's one song, there may have been more, but there's one song in particular that was not put on the record that you just released.
Yeah.
And it's called Un-American Dream.
Yeah.
Written by you, Matthew Szlachetka, and Paul William Stevens, right? And you just put this song out.
Yeah.
You talk about the current state and direction of the country, and it's not, well, it's in the title, Un-American Dream.
Yeah.
What is Un-American Dream about?
This is another one of those songs that I feel like it was a gift. I met Paul in the 2 to 3 years prior to moving here, and we started writing together when I was still living in Los Angeles. One of my favorite people to write with. I love him so much. And we wrote that song Earthquake, which was on the last album.
Right.
And that was a under the radar political song, if you will. And so Un-American Dream came about during that whole writing process. We had a folder of like 70 songs from that year and a half, and then we whittled it down to 11. And so this song came about because we were, without getting too much into a political conversation, this was written during the first 4 years
of Trump. Yeah.
We were just commiserating, if you will, over certain things and shifts in the culture and the country and everything. Paul grew up in St. Louis. He was the baby of the family. His father was a veteran of World War II who was in the 10th Armored Division under Patton's Third Army. And so he made it through pretty much every major European engagement, survived the Battle of the Bulge, Battle of Bastogne. After the Battle of the Bulge, his unit was specifically responsible for liberating Dachau. And so he went through all of that, came home, didn't get shot, okay, but he was never the same. And Paul has told me that as best of a father as he could be, he was. Definitely like a strained relationship with Paul growing up, but they really patched things up shortly before his dad's passing. And Paul, he was bedside with his dad,
in the hospital, and his dad was really agitated. And it was just like, he's like, Dad, what can I do? And his dad was like, I just don't think I'm going to go to heaven. And he's like, what are you talking about, Dad? He's like, you were an amazing father, husband. You were a Catholic of Catholics. You're there for your community. You served your country. Why? He goes, because I never forgave him. And he goes, what do you mean you didn't forgive him? He goes, I never forgave the German people because they knew and they didn't do anything about it. Wow. And so Paul had the title, An American Dream, that I was like, I'm in, I want to write that. And I still get goosebumps when I talk about that story, because I can't even imagine somebody who goes through all the things you do for your country, right? Serve, you come back an American hero, and then you are just tormented for the rest of your life because of what you've seen and witnessed. And from the way Paul talked about it too, it just tore his dad up of how cruel humans could be to each other. You fast forward to where we're at as a country right now. And it's so funny because Paul and I really view that song as a patriotic song, to question your government, to speak up for human rights, to speak up for yourself. That's exactly what that song is about. And that's exactly what is being swept under the rug, I think, in this country right now. And the things that we fought against, the things that the quote unquote greatest generation fought for, so that way we could all live a more enriched, entitled life now, those are getting swept under the rug right now. And the concepts of decency, being good to thy neighbor, all that stuff, it's a foreign term these days.
This very second. Absolutely. So how did the song come about?
We had a writing schedule on the books, and in typical scenario, when we write, we just kind of catch up for a little bit, and then you start kicking around ideas, titles, melodies, lyrics, non sequiturs, all that stuff. And he literally was like, I got this title, An American Dream. I'm like, I'm intrigued. Tell me about it. Right. And so then he told me that story. Scott Underwood was like, I don't know if we should put this song on there because like we want to be gaining fans right now. We don't want to be that divisive. And I didn't not agree with it at the time, because I've got friends on both sides of the equation, and I love that. And I've got opinions on both sides of the equation. And I think right now, I think everything is so polarized, and especially because of, unfortunately, social media and stuff like that. It allows people to be terrible to each other because they don't have to do it in person.
Yeah. But as an artist, isn't that our job?
Absolutely.
We write about your cheating heart. We write about daddy abused me, right? We write about rape. We write about incest. We write about the most horrible things in the world. All of the 10 commandments, right? Every single one of them. It's like, well, here's another commandment. Oh, I stole. Sorry, whatever. But if you're questioning your country, if you're asking a question and saying, I don't agree with this, I mean, look, Stephen Colbert just got fired, or I'm sorry, they canceled his show because he's basically speaking out against something that is the government has interest in. So if we can't, at least as artists, I mean, George Carlin had a whole career on it. In fact, all of the comics worth their salt, all 100%. Of the musicians, all of the artists. And now we're in a place where if you say something just, well, it might rub somebody wrong. It might affect us and our career. So at this point in time, for your release in 2020, you thought, maybe it's not a good idea. Why is it a good idea to release it now?
Well, getting back to the thematic landscape within that album, that was also like, it could have worked on it, but just from the other songs, like it didn't gel as well. But in kind of getting back to the timing thing, like as much as I had wanted to put it on the record back then, I'm so glad that we waited, because I don't think that the message would have resonated like it is now, given how much crazier things are now than during the first 4 years. There's a quote from the press release, and it's 100% true. Like, I feel like putting the song out now is less of a career move and it's more of a responsibility, because I just can't sit with that sentiment anymore. And it literally had been eating away at me, the fact that I had this song and I felt so strongly about the song, and I didn't want to just sit on it through what's happening right now. Because initially, given what we were talking about of like my kind of musical shift right now, I didn't want to put out another single of my own. I'm more interested in producing something for somebody and helping elevate somebody else, you know? So I initially was kind of shopping the song around to producers that I had relationships with, being like, hey, you've got an artist that might want this kind of song. This song needs to be cut. Sarah and I have a really great working and personal relationship with Radney Foster. Her and Radney have been working on this amazing one-woman play called Back in Birmingham past few years, and like they had just finished it. We did an awesome table reading at Radney's house. Wonderful night. And then previously we had just finished all the soundtrack for it. So like Radney and I had also co-produced Sarah's last album together. I had a couple cocktails. So I was like, man, I'm just going to ask him. And I was like, hey, Radney, I got this song. If you're working with any artists or if you really resonated with it, I'd be honored. He's like, I want to hear this song. And I sent it to him. A couple weeks go by and I was like, oh man, I hope he listened to it. And then he's like, hey, that song is amazing. He's like, but you have to cut it. And I was like, I don't really want to put it in. He goes, no. He goes, I know where you're at. He's like, you need to cut it. I will co-produce it with you. You can use my studio. My son Jack will engineer it and co-produce it with. I'm like, great, that's amazing. Thank you. And so when someone like Radney gives you that advice, I'm like, yes. And I'm so thankful that he offered all of that up because he's a dear friend too. Like I've been so fortunate to have worked with him for a handful of years now.
Yeah.
And once again, I'm glad that we didn't record this for the previous record. I'm glad that we did it now in the way that we did it. And it was super intimate. I didn't want like a big rock production on it. I feel like it would have taken away from the true essence of the song. And so we did it at Radney's home studio. I had my buddy Douglas come in and play violin and viola on it. Adam Schoenfeld came in and played baritone. And then David Ristrom came in and played pedal steel. We did 3 takes of the song live.
Yeah.
The first take was with a click. It was fine, but I was like, just roll one without a click. And I did, and that's the take.
Yeah.
The second take was the one we kept.
Felt good.
You know?
Felt right.
And I just want the message to resonate with people. And I think one of the biggest things that I'm proud of about this song is like I have had people from both sides of the equation reach out to me, just really telling me how much it means to them, how much they love the song. And that's a goal because I really just want to be a conduit for this message. Nobody's going to agree on 100% all the time.
Right.
But we can at least have a common love and decency for each other, have a cocktail or share a meal with somebody that you really appreciate and respect who they are, even if you don't agree on everything.
By the way, we used to call that dinner.
Yeah. You know?
We used to call that breakfast.
Yeah.
We used to call that just having coffee. It's incredible because of all the people that I disagree with, the people that are in my family, the people that are not friendly with each other anymore, that are now divided,
Right.
all used to either live together,
Yeah.
spend time together, be in class together, work together.
Right.
Now it's us versus them, and it's unfortunate. Rolling Stone said, if you're looking for patriotic country songs for the 4th of July, they're easy to find. But country songs of dissent that dare to question or call out the nation's flaws require some digging. So let's dig into your song
Sure.
a little bit. So the chorus sounds very much like a typical country song. I mean, I'm reading it and I'm like, you're a darn good country writer, sir. We were free then, all on the same damn side. Prayed on a Sunday, drank on a Friday night. We were heroes, but we kept our pride inside. We'd fight like family, but we'd always make things right. Grandpa didn't bleed for this world gone crazy, an American dream. I mean, it sounds like a wonderful story, but then we dig a little deeper, okay? He loved his neighbors as he loved himself. Give you the shirt off his back if you needed some help. Don't worry about getting paid back somewhere down the line. We live in such a transactional world right now.
Yeah.
And when I read that lyric, I thought, oh yeah, that's the America that we all love. And you know what? I've been a scumbag too, okay? I'll admit it.
Yeah.
Because I'm not anything but a human being, right?
Yeah.
I have flaws. But there are moments that we all have. I don't care what side you're on, but your friend or your neighbor or somebody you don't even know just needs a little help, just a little bit, and you give it, right? Now, there's plenty of people that pat themselves on the back and want to go share with them. You know what I did today?
Right.
I was wonderful. I helped an old lady get across the street. Well, you are so wonderful.
Yeah.
And then there are people that just do it and forget all about it because that's just what it's about being human. We're not alone in this. I always say Nashville drives me crazy because people can't drive here, right? Use your freaking turn signal, okay? You're not the only ones in the world, but I really mean that because we don't have to be so transactional. I just love this sentiment. And the bridge, if you will, of this song, it was all apple pie and Chevrolet. Even the lies were better back in the day. And I can hear him laughing at this fool's parade. Who's the him?
It'd be Paul's father, anybody's,
Right.
you know, fatherly or motherly or grandfather or grandmother gave the ultimate sacrifice, whether it was serving overseas or serving here, because rationing, doing things for your common countryman or your country person, obviously for the greater cause, the greater good. we're all in the same country. We're on the same side.
Yes.
And it's so polarized now where, once again, I mean, it's like people that went over and fought in World War II came back and didn't talk about it.
Right.
Like, it was just something they did. And granted, that's a generational thing. And
It's true.
it's things that all countries and cultures have been working on. But I really, really think that people had more of a sense of duty and responsibility for somebody not themselves.
Yes.
I'm not trying to put myself in Paul's father's shoes at all, but once again, the idea of community, the idea of culture and place, who you are and how you fit into that, that's the sentiment of that last album I put out. Fast forward to Greasy Chicken Review. That was a perfect example for me of something that was very implemental of getting me to really take a larger look at what I was doing from a touring perspective and saying no to that so I could stay home more to build more within the Nashville community of what I really wanted to be doing. The time that I put into a Greasy Chicken Review show from what the monetary outcome is, it's crazy. And so in essence, like a free in-town passion project was something that was also a major factor in having me question whether I still wanted to do 150 to 200 dates a year of my own. Be like, I would rather be here and do a show like that and have it resonate with the community and have it be a focal point of the community where everybody can come and play music for the same reason that we all started playing music, the love of it.
Yeah.
And is it fun? Yes, it is fun. That's why we're all doing it.
Yeah.
And giving everybody a chance to shine that comes in and out of that project is the thing that is probably the most important thing that makes me happy about it.
And what you're doing and who you are, the Greasy Chicken Review, what you're putting out as your art, as the Un-American Dream, that is our apple pie and is our Chevrolet.
Yeah.
It's being idealistic.
Yeah.
And being idealistic doesn't necessarily mean that we have to be correct or we have to be righteous or anything, but ideals are so beautiful to have, and they're something we share. Yes, the apple pie and Chevrolet, those aren't necessarily what's on the table right now, but the community of getting together and play music and write these songs, it's courageous. Courage is such a big deal. The willingness to tell our stories, feel the pain of others, and stay genuinely connected in this disconnected world is not something we can do half-heartedly. To practice courage, compassion, and connection is to look at life and the people around us and say, I'm all in. That's Brené Brown, my hero. I love her to death. What you're doing is courageous. The little things that we do every single day that are just taking care of ourselves, that are taking care of other people around us, that's courage. You putting on a show once a month that doesn't make any money, you have to pay everybody. Hopefully it makes you, at some point, but you are growing something. We have Whiskey Jam in this town now, right? And Whiskey Jam is something that I remember the very first Whiskey Jams, and I played at those. And now it is a national institute because it is so American to have an idea and to have the passion and love to do it. And then it grows. And then all of a sudden, people show up. You know why? Because you created the space for us to be together in a community. And that is a very beautiful thing. And I commend you. Absolutely. And now here you are, Matt Szlachetka. You have a baby on the way with your beautiful wife, Sarah Eileen. You're having a kid. You're about to be a dad. Life is not all about yourself. It's not all about you. How are you feeling about all that?
Over the moon
Yeah.
about the baby. I'm just so excited because in not to take anything away from like how I was brought up, how Sarah was brought up, like we're both super thankful for all that. And we wouldn't be where we are with different circumstances. But I feel so blessed with this child coming into the world from our family and our community, especially since we started breaking the news. Everybody in town is like, we're having a baby.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't want to be forceful with influence on a child at all. But if this child does decide to go into music or anything within the artistic realm, they are going to have so much of a massive leg up from Sarah and I growing up. And just from the standpoint of, once again, we both had parents that were incredibly supportive with whatever we did. But aside from that, growing up in a town that it's just part of the equation. You don't have to explain to anybody like, well, I'm a musician. And you don't have to have anybody question that. Be like, well, how do you make your living then? Or like, what do you really do? where you and I grew up in the Northeast, where you went to high school, you went to a college or university, and then you got some kind of corporate job.
This quote unquote
So
real world.
I'm just super excited for all of those things. And maybe it's like, hey, if the kid wants to go into finance, great. They'll be able to help us out. But it's like just having those options and more of a broad, diverse ability to dream, if you will, versus like, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to have to get some kind of corporate job that has benefits, that has a 401k, that I can do this. So that way I have security and I do this. Yeah.
It's very stressful. Think about that. If you were to have a kid, and it stresses me out just thinking about it. And we're not even having the kid. You are. So thank you for that. So I can live through you and see how you do.
Uncle, brother, love.
Absolutely. But do you feel that there's hope? Do you feel hope for this kid?
Absolutely.
Tell me why. I could use some hope.
Because I think we're going to be great parents. Just from both of our backgrounds and coming together, I think we have really good perspective on things.
Yeah.
And, as outside of regular education, from the institution of education, I think that we will have such a good grounding. I guess if you're going to get into the German word, the Weltanschauung, the world view of a perspective of growing up where, once again, question things, ask questions, be curious, don't just take one sentiment and think that's it.
Yeah.
Well, what's the other side of that?
Yeah.
And what works for me? Everything else with facts and numbers and actual history, that's important too.
And I want to bring back a quote that your co-writer, Paul, on American Dream, recalls his father saying, there's only one truth, love thy neighbor and be sorry when you are wrong. You're open and available for anything to occur and anything to happen. And you're bringing this child into a very peaceful and wonderful place.
Yeah.
In addition to being a singer, a songwriter, a producer, you put on this great evening of music, the Greasy Chicken Review. I don't know where you find the time. You have something called the Old Soul Record Club. What is that?
Old Soul Record Club essentially was my COVID pivot. I was on the road in Texas in March of 2020 doing preliminary acoustic promo shows for the Young Heart Old Soul album, which was supposed to come out that year. And when I threw the towel down and went home, the first thing I did was I dove into a weekly live stream show that, I'm super thankful for it. Like, that helped keep me afloat.
You were doing a live stream
show,
playing music.
Yeah, it was every Sunday.
Right.
And that was like for 2 years almost, until I was able to get back on the road to promote that record. I had flipped records a little bit prior to COVID. It was usually if I was on tour and came into a batch of records that was grossly underpriced, or same thing with like vintage stereo gear. I knew that I could sell it when I got home and it would essentially pay for what I bought for my personal collection. The first time that Sarah and I were able to go visit my parents during COVID, I came into a collection of about like 1,000 records, kept about a third from my personal collection, and then quickly moved the remainder of it. And then I was like, okay, I think I'm onto something here. And so all the time that I would have normally spent on the road booking shows, I put into building up an inventory, building up a clientele, and it essentially started at our previous home's garage. And so I would just, through like flip videos on Facebook and putting ads on Marketplace and all this stuff, I just started building up more and more clientele. And then after I started moving, like from a DIY indie standpoint, like a decent amount of records, actually my buddy Jamie Kent, who we talked about a little bit earlier, he's always been a brilliant entrepreneur, and aside from great songwriter and artist and stuff. And he was just like, hey, you ever think about starting like an online subscription service record club? And I was like, no, but that's brilliant. And so I kind of devised and thought of Old Soul Record Club, where it's essentially like Columbia House or CD or record clubs of the past.
I bought mine, man.
Totally. But the thing that's different about it is when you go to oldsoulrecordclub.com, you figure out what price tier works for you. You sign up and then you get a welcome email with a survey. That survey lets me know what you want, what you don't want. And if you already have a list of your collection, you submit that to me, and I become each member's personal curator every month. And I send a mystery box of stuff that I know they'll love. And
that is so cool.
And it's so, aside from people that come to the shop in person to set up a private appointment to shop, I'm always sending off like tons of boxes of records every month to club members.
Wow.
Yeah.
Old Soul Record Club.
Yeah.
I don't know where you find the time, brother. That's so cool. So I have questions for you. This is our speed round. What fascinates you?
Becoming a father is fascinating. I think our family growing is fascinating. I think, outside of music and career things, I think growing with your partner is amazing. I think even just over the last year, I think Sarah and I have had like a tremendous amount of growth together, and it takes a lot of courage to do that. And it takes definitely putting pride and ego down. What else fascinates me? I think the community here fascinates me. I think growing projects and concepts fascinates me. Finding a way to do what you love in life is fascinating, and do it on your own terms is fascinating to me.
Not an easy thing to do for everybody.
No, it's not. And just having that concept like you're talking about of like authenticity, right? And from a production standpoint, cutting a record, whether it's mine or somebody else, like taking the essence of whoever you are, whatever band you're in, whatever artist you're working with is or whatever, taking that and making that super authentic to where you're not chasing something. Do we want to record and produce something right now that in a year is going to be out of style? Or do we want to record something and 15 to 20 years from now look back on that and be like, wow, this still holds up with what's current right now?
Something that's timeless.
And that's what I've always sought and been chasing. Whether you love it or hate it, man, Huey Lewis Sports is a kick-ass album. And it still sounds awesome now as it did the day it came out.
Huey Lewis, that whole record, Huey Lewis is one of the most fantastic bands and artists ever.
Yep.
I never got to meet my father-in-law, Sarah's dad, but he said something to the effect of like, I'd suck his dick. You know what? Me too, Joe Bob.
I got to open for him a couple times, and he was just such a gracious, cool dude.
Really?
I mean, everybody in his band was great.
Yeah.
That album is just full of bangers. It's like the album might as well be a greatest hits album. Once again, you think about when an album like that came out, they could have used every cliche synth sound in the world, but they're like, no, we're going to have some of it maybe, but we're going to make it organic sounding, and we're going to make it sound like us, and the songs are going to be there.
What angers you?
What angers me right now, it's a perfect example of why this song came out. I think that human decency has jumped the shark. That angers me. That infuriates me. I think the concept of not being able to be decent to somebody, even though they don't agree with everything that you stand for, I just don't stand for it. I think that life and communities have always flourished when there's more diversity and more different types of ideas going on, as long as people are respecting each other. I think that this country wouldn't be what it is if we didn't have the diversity we have.
Yeah.
Getting back to putting this song out, every now and then I'll scroll down some comments to see like, okay, have the trolls come out and stuff like that. And for the most part, it's been pretty tame. There's been a few stupid comments, but nothing outlandish. The one comment and I didn't comment on it, I was just like, I'm not opening up that can of worms. But this one woman commented when I did a screenshot of the Rolling Stone article itself, so that way if people couldn't access it on the phone, they could read it. You know, I mean, you can go out on my page and read whatever the phrase I said, but in essence, it was like, I think one of the things that has made this country great is the diversity, because it creates us who we are. And this one woman's comment was, actually, I think it's the opposite. I think diversity is tearing this country apart. And then she quoted something from the Constitution of one nation under God, indivisible. And I'm like, oh my God, where did your family come from?
Yeah.
When did they immigrate here? And like, what culture did they come from? Okay, so I'm sorry, you're ruling all that out. You know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's unfortunate. If you had a magic wand, and you could fix anything, make it the way you'd like it, let's say,
I think I would level the playing field in this country more. I would bring it back to like maybe where it was.
You mean make America great again? Is that what you say? Oh, really? Go on, Matthew.
Exactly. No, I would level the playing field financially for majority of people in this country. I wouldn't have as much division between financial situations here. Crazy world. Like, I would bring things like manufacturing and more mom and pop businesses back to this country where we could, quote unquote, have more of our Main Street again. I'd eliminate Ticketmaster.
Yeah.
I'd eliminate Live Nation, because I think conglomerates like that have been really ruining this industry.
Yeah.
I'd get rid of Viacom, bring back more localized regional radio stations again.
Look at that. Matthew Szlachetka for president, 2028. I'm in. Okay, biggest question of all, my friend.
Sure.
Matthew, toilet paper, over or under?
You know, both. Because sometimes it's over, sometimes it's under.
Okay, you're wrong. It's over, and that's that. Okay, Matthew Szlachetka, where can we find you?
Sure. Website, szlachetkamusic.com, SZLACHETKA. And then social media handles, /Szlachetka Music.
Right.
That's for Facebook and Instagram. I'm not really on Twitter or X or whatever the hell you call it these days. I have a page, but I'm not active on it. YouTube, I think, is Szlachetka Official.
Right on. And the Greasy Chicken Review, the second Tuesday of every month at the East Side Bowl. It is not to be missed. It's a fantastic event. I thank you so much for being on the Just Keep Talking podcast, my friend.
It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Absolutely.
Love you too.
Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Brother Love, and remember, your story matters. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye. You can personally support this show simply by clicking the tip link in the show notes. The Just Keep Talking podcast is now available on all podcast platforms. Please like, share, and subscribe. Visit our website at justkeeptalking.com, our YouTube channel at Just Keep Talking Podcast, and Instagram at The Just Keep Talking Podcast. Thank you so much for supporting the Just Keep Talking podcast with me, Brother Love, because your story matters.